Hello, welcome to the Weekend Grill. Adrian Deha here. Big weekend of football, 2 weeks to go, 2 Melbourne teams, 2 interstate teams, and here to talk it over with me and dissect it all, Paul Italiano.
Good to be back, mate. It was all Carlton last week.
You got your voice back.
It's back. I can see you got the Movie World hat on. Did that come with your $1,000 flights that you booked this week up to the Gold Coast?
Brisbane.
Was that did that come free with the flights?
They were going to chuck in some other services, but I just said, just give us a Movie World hat, make me feel better. I said, Carlton's going to win, mate. I don't need a hat to make me feel better.
How's Virgin, the major sponsors of the AFL, and they've just ripped off all their number one fans going up there?
Well, look, ticket scalpers aren't allowed to rip people off, but that's reserved. That title's reserved for the AFL.
Only the AFL can do that.
and the sponsoring airline.
That's
right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We'll give you one pork chop and level 2 tickets for $550.
Pretty much.
That?
Look, it's going to be a massive, massive week here. Like, we've got 2 Victorian teams left in the final. Who would have thought? And we've got GWS who have literally come from the clouds, and Brisbane who no one's really even spoken about, but we're going to speak about them. So we're going to talk about the Week 2 finals review. So the 2 semi-finals that occurred on the weekend, Carlton and Melbourne, and Port Adelaide and GWS. We're going to run through that. Standing tall in September Week 2.
Ooh, some big names.
We've got some big boys that are making a name for themselves, as we know, in September. This is, if you want to rise to the occasion, this is where you are remembered.
This is where you get the extra 0 on your contract.
Yeah, absolutely. And a preliminary finals preview between Collingwood and GWS and Brisbane Lions and Carlton. But let's get into it. Let's go back to Friday night at the MCG in front of 96,000 people. One of the biggest you'll ever see.
Of the year, right? I don't go. I said before, I hate Carlton. I hate Melbourne. I couldn't give a shit who won, right? Because it was a loss. But what a game!
Imagine being there.
Look, it was loud. And when I'm not saying it's a smart ass way, but when your club hasn't played a lot of finals was it 10 years or how long?
10 years, yeah.
When you're starved of finals footy and then you get there and you have a win like that, you find an extra couple tones in your voice to go a bit louder.
It's funny. I was there, and when into the game, I was sitting with Dad and my mate, and my dad said something actually very funny. I found it funny. He goes. This club, Carlton, has a way of getting people out of their deathbeds. He goes, you're seeing disabled people all of a sudden be able to stand up.
There was people hopping. Some guy walked off a wheelchair, mate. I've seen it.
I saw Dylan Alcott in the rooms at the end of the game. God bless him, mate. He looked emotional.
He said he wants to walk again.
Well,
after
I'm
that
telling
win.
you, that's what the club like Carlton, and for what they've been through and where they are now, that's the effect. And also it magnifies the power of a football club and what it has over its supporters. This is sometimes football clubs mean a lot to a lot of people. We're involved in a highly emotional game where people have many loves in their lives. One of them is family, one of them's friends, and the other one's probably the actual football club. So
it's obviously good when there's 2 big Victorian clubs still in the draw.
I know.
And everyone's looking.
What a time to be alive. We're going to get onto it a bit later, but we might just have to preempt a few things here as to what could possibly happen. We're not getting ahead of ourselves, obviously.
Let's just hope Brisbane and Giants don't win.
We'll get onto it later.
Because, geez.
But look, we're here to talk about the game.
Will get a ticket to that grand final.
Oh, they'll be giving them out.
They'll be,
But look, Paulie, we're going to get into the game.
Let's go.
Melbourne and Carlton, the scores were 9-17, Melbourne 71 to Carlton's 11-7, 73.
Well, you were there.
I was there. I was relatively caught up in it. I've obviously watched the replay, as you can imagine, upwards of 30 times.
Did you think it was game over?
Not really, no. Do you want to know why?
Yep.
Because they always let us in. They always gave us a chance.
Yep.
And a lot of the behinds that they were kicking, they end up kicking a lot of behinds at the end. Like 9-17, it just seems to be an actual repeat for the ODs. They've done this time and time again. They obviously haven't learned. Obviously, sometimes these things are execution errors, which you can try and rectify. Their process was fine. I thought Melbourne played well. Hand on heart, even as a Carlton supporter, Melbourne were the better side. However, Carlton...
Deja vu.
Yeah, but Carlton were there to take the opportunities. And, I've said it before and I'll say it again. In finals, it's not talent that wins you these games. You need to be smart, and Carlton just rose to the occasion. But I'd like to get your thoughts before I continue adding
it was
my
a
own piece.
typical Melbourne loss. It's the same thing over and over. And I said, when I first came on the show, I said Melbourne can't kick a score. And I think they've scored 71 and 63. You're not going to win many games of football, but they rely on their defence.
Yep.
They rely on repeat entries. So they try and win stoppage, lock it in their front half. They get set up. Gorn goes behind the footy. The thing is, if you get them out the back, you almost score every time if you can cut through them. And it's just typical. They're just not potent when they go forward. They don't have a forward. They rush. If you go back to that last play, I think Viney slapped it on the boot. He could have. I know it's easy to say we're watching slow-mo.
That's what pressure does. I know what you're going to say.
It's pressure. But he had Petrarca on the hands, and then Petrarca's got the footy, and then defence rolls up, and he got two Melbourne players over the top, and he almost sealed the game.
Yeah.
And they don't do that. They don't actually surge with the football. They always tend to rush and slap it and play territory footy.
The occasion shouldn't be lost. So it is a semi-final. It's clutch moments, big moments.
Of course, easier said than done.
And it's also a good indication of who rose and who rose above the actual pressure. The pressure of the game, the intensity in that last quarter was huge.
Yep.
Like, you're talking about the inside 50s. Like, okay, look, they did score 9 goals, 17, but the inside 50s were 53 to 52. It's not much. But the one thing I do want to highlight, and I think it needs to be spoken about, is Melbourne and their tactics. So first and foremost, the sub, to put Josh Shackey as the sub without using him, that has to be questioned. Secondly, I think most importantly, discipline in finals means everything. Now, I want to speak on the discipline of the Melbourne Football Club. So, I thought Collingwood softened them up in the first week, and I think the events of that game sort of may have got to them, which has now been sort of spoken about on a lot of talkback footy stuff. Yes. And Carlton were there just to finish them off. So, in particular, Cozzy Pickett. Cozzy Pickett, right, is reckless. Cozzy Pickett is ill-disciplined. And those two traits in finals mean that you're a liability. In finals, you don't need liabilities. You need assets. Cozzy Pickett, in my opinion, somewhat cost his team the actual game with his lack of discipline. And it filtered through to the whole side. I'm not singling him out. I shouldn't single him out. But I reckon that they were rattled.
Yep.
And I don't think they were up for the occasion, and Carlton was. And Carlton, when the opportunity presented itself, they took it.
Yep.
And that was the difference.
They were very ill-disciplined. Yeah, they were.
Massive.
Well, how many? Pickett gave away 2 or 3 50? Or I think it was 2.
2 50s.
Oliver gave away one in the back pocket.
Yep. I think that was actually Tom McDonald, because Tom McDonald, I know the one you're talking about, Tom McDonald was just complaining the whole night. He may as well be in a witch's hat.
Yeah. No, but Oliver didn't move off the mark.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Tom McDonald complaining to the umpire.
Oliver was pretending he couldn't hear, which he probably couldn't have.
Yeah. It was loud. It was very loud.
Fuck him anyway. And he's a sook. He's just absolute sook, Clayton Oliver. And then I think it was Sparrow through Walsh. Walsh hit his head.
Yeah.
They were just really, and I think.
And they had a shot inside 50, and Pickett's gone and jumper punched.
Yep.
Mitch.
Yep. And Pickett, I was actually hoping, this is really sad, but I was actually hoping if Melbourne won, Pickett got rubbed out.
Yeah, he deserves
because of all these historics about Goodwin, he jumped and he knocked a player out. And I just would have loved to see how.
Would have been ironic.
I would have liked, how they responded to their own player who didn't make a play on the footy at all, just literally went to, I don't know if he went to knock him out, but if Cripps was about 5 centimetres shorter, he would have absolutely poleaxed him.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. Like, the message I got out of the game, like, the reality is, like, Cozzy Pickett, he thinks he's hard. Like, bro, you're not hard.
Yep.
Right? Like, you're trying to impose yourself on the actual contest. I get it.
Yep.
But the reality is, you ended up being reckless.
He was.
You lack discipline. And in finals, you can't have that. You cannot have that. And now, Cozzy, you and your teammates have got 6 months to think it over.
Yeah, well,
enjoy,
mate.
Seriously,
Fly
enjoy.
Over the MCG on the Virgin, Boeing 847 while we're playing grand final day, dickhead.
We're not sponsoring that. But yeah, let's talk about the Blues.
Oh, we'll go about the Blues.
Right? No, you go.
Just because he was good, and I think his bad outweighed his good because he was.
Agreed.
He was actually he actually kept them in the game. I thought at some some points of the game.
I agree and I disagree. In the last quarter, that snapshot he had, you talk about Viney giving the hands off to Petrarca. Petrarca's been burnt twice. Yeah. So in that last minute and a half or whatever it was,
Petrarca on the inside.
Petrarca on the inside, didn't give it to him. Cozzy had a snap, which was a low percentage play, and the ball eventually
hit the post.
Somehow miraculously hit the post. 8 times out of 10, it probably would have gone in. If he literally right there to his right was Christian Petrarca.
And I'm pretty sure he had two players as well on
over the top.
Board.
He did, and he burnt
them. That's the thing with Melbourne, and this has been happening for even last year. We were analysing them. They don't lower their eyes, or they just tend to go long. And that's for me. That's a coach. That's a coaching.
Well, this is, you know.
And you know my views on their coach.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I mean, I can sort of see the actual narrative now, but if they were calling for Luke Beveridge to be gone, the media, that is, I can't see why they're not calling for Simon Goodwin's head.
Yep. Well, he's got the flag.
It shocks me.
That's why.
He's got the flag, but he's got his next 4 finals at home that have lost.
Yep. All in the same fashion.
And it's just stubbornness. Like I don't know. I don't want to speak about it too much, but the reality is, next to his name, he does have that flag. Yes, great. That's fantastic. But he also has his next 4 finals at the MCG that have all been lost. And really, there was a few of them, 2 of them, from what I can remember, were from winnable positions.
Yeah. I didn't like yesterday how they came out and was saying that a lot of the Brayshaw incident affected them, and I feel like as a coach,
that's why I mentioned. You guys softened them up, and we just put them.
I think that gives your players an out. Like, it's not a lot of coaches would have said, come out and, or like Voss has done, or you just say we're not good. We simply just weren't good enough.
Yeah,
and just own the loss, because you're giving your players an out. All right, it's not the right. I don't like his attitude. Well, I hate the way he speaks.
Can I ask him? Do you believe he's a good representative of the club?
No, he's not.
I don't think he is either.
No.
I mean, if you listen to the way that he spoke after the first qualifying final, that reflects on his players.
100%.
I'll be honest with you, the only one I can see in that team that busts his gut and does not make any excuse is the captain, Gawn.
Yep.
He seems to be the only one. He doesn't complain. He gets the job done.
Yep.
He puts his body on the line week in and week out, and he just gets the rest of them are all to me. I mean, I
think Clayton Oliver. I watched it firsthand. He's one of the biggest sooks. The amount of times he throws his arms in the air, they
all do it. Yeah, mate, Tom McDonald's do it. Mate, Tom McDonald should worry about making a contest before throwing his arms out in the air.
Tom McDonald has a turning circle of a Dyson's bus at Parade College, right? I cannot understand how they've gone with him. What more does he give you than? How much worse could he be than Brodie Grundy?
Well, this is the thing, Paul. But before we move on to the Blues, I believe this is where the stubbornness and the ego has come in. So let's just put it into context. Melbourne's gone out, recruited Brodie Grundy, paying him a high price amount.
Yep.
Right. Played him for the first 13 or 14 games. Probably thought in their mind that they could adjust and that they needed a change. Dropped him out of the side. They went on a bit of a run. Coincidentally, they started winning games, etc. Brodie Grundy's left in the dark. A lot of speculation. And to be fair, Brodie Grundy, in my opinion, has handled the whole situation. Out of everyone involved, he's handled it beautifully.
Yes, correct.
He hasn't said nothing. He's been the ultimate professional.
Yep.
You see him at training. He doesn't he hasn't spoken nothing. And any time there's cameras around Brodie Grundy, he has been the ultimate pro.
Agreed.
Right? Now, he's gone in this time understanding and probably recognising that his spot is lost in the team. He's then gone and sort of ventured to other clubs. Right. Melbourne didn't like it. Goodwin didn't like it. But hang on a sec. You're not giving the guy a chance. So you can't begrudge him for going to speak to other clubs. And the way I saw it with that inclusion of Shaki, or that lack of inclusion of Grundy on Friday night, was basically Simon Goodwin going like this to Grundy. But the reality is, this is where you put your ego aside. You're not Sir Alex Ferguson, mate.
I agree.
Come on.
I agree.
I just thought Melbourne allowed their ego and their pride to get ahead. And coupled with the emotional effect of that first qualifying final from last week, it let it get – and Carlton were there just to pounce all over them.
Yep.
But let's speak about the Blues. What do you think of the Blues?
It was good. It was – there was lots of momentum swings in the game.
Yep.
Melbourne came out hot. there was a stage where I'm like, Carlton really need a goal here, just a steady.
Yep.
And then Carlton had a run of momentum. And it tends to happen in Melbourne games because Melbourne like playing it in their half. If you can get it out and you can lock it in your half, that's just the way they're a hard grind. I must say they're a hard grinding team to watch.
Melbourne.
And play against. It's sort of, when you play them, you're like, geez,
it's a grind. You're going to be in for a battle.
Grind. It's not sort of back and forth.
No. They don't get involved in too many shootouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the way you beat Melbourne, right, is the exact way what Carlton scored their last goal from. Wiedering switched inboard, switched across the play, and all their sort of structure was on the other wing.
Yep.
McVee had to spoil the footy at the end.
I must admit, yeah, it was. I must admit that last 2 minutes, if you ever want to see a club, and it's been associated with Collingwood a lot, if you ever want to see a passage of play that was situational or scenario train based, go watch the last 2 minutes of that game.
Yep.
And Melbourne looked Melbourne didn't know what to do.
Correct.
The moment Jacob Wiedering got the ball, snap, drop, bang, kick inboard. It was mate. Did you see in that moment who ended up in the forward line? 3 defenders.
Yep.
Or 2 defenders and a wingman. Brody Kemp, Mitch McGovern,
yep.
and Blake Acres.
Yeah. And McGovern played it beautifully at the end. He did that fake little, yep.
Yeah, and he put his arms up.
He was just blocking.
The first person, actually, I mean, we were all delirious, but the first person I realised that mentioned that was Tom Duday from Adelaide.
Yep.
So Tom Duday on Twitter goes, I don't think people are going to realise how important that passage of play and the smarts of McGovern to actually go up and take that and act like he was trying to take a mark. Like you can't teach that. And as I said all week last week, and I'm a big believer of this, in finals, talent does not win you the finals. It's using your brains. It's football smarts.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
and
I
being
agree.
tough. And Carlton were that. Carlton were tough. They Carlton were battered. They had Cripps has probably got a broken nose. Doherty's dislocated his shoulder. They were, Carl were walking wounded, and I think it's a testament to their character.
They threw one last punch at the end, and they nailed it.
Yeah,
and it almost was the sub. Fuck, Ollie Hollands really stood out when he was subbed on.
Clutch moments, a lot of clutch moments for a
he
young
was fresh.
kid.
And did he make the rundown tackle on Hunter?
He affected a marking contest. He made a rundown tackle, and he set up that winning goal.
Hunter was out, mate. He was going. I think Hunter beat him 1-on-1.
And he tackled him.
But he was so fresh that he caught up to him again and laid the tackle.
Correct.
And that's why I can't believe that Goodwin hasn't been crucified more over this Shaki selection is just beyond me. And even if you've played him, sub him on for McDonald.
McDonald
in the
was
last
useless.
quarter,
McDonald, I'm telling you, was useless.
McDonald had 7 touches by the last quarter.
And to be fair, sorry to interrupt you, to be fair, that Collingwood game, he was a witch's hat too.
He was.
He kicked a goal in the last quarter. He was a witch's hat.
It was
But,
a fucking...
yeah. Have you got anything last to say about that game on either side, Carlton or the D's?
Look, it's just a typical... I know a lot of people say there's a lot of positives to take out of Melbourne. They'll get players back, and they may well.
They got 6 months to think it over.
Right? I think their foundation's good, and they'll come back next year.
Yep.
But it's just a typical... I've seen this before from Melbourne, so...
It seems like they need an attitude shift to me. I don't care about the personnel. I just think it's an attitude and a culture change that's needed at Melbourne. And I don't know where that starts from.
Yep.
I'm not directing that,
Good on-
at Max Gawn, but I think other players, senior players at that club, including their coach, I think they need to be questioned.
Yep. Good on for Carlton winning, mate. Carlton hung in there. You could have easily just, look, it's getting too difficult.
I thought it was brave. I thought it was a very brave performance.
And Wiedering was huge in that last quarter. He was massive. He was out on his feet. He was really good. And to pull that kick off in the
how gutsy do you have to be? This is what I mean.
And you got to remember too, to hit that kick in the last quarter in front of 95,000 with heavy legs.
What about the second kick from Hollands?
Jeez, yeah,
that was even ballsier.
Wow, it was a good kick, but fuck, he kicked it high in the air, didn't he? He didn't help Doherty's. He didn't help Doherty's shoulder. Doherty doesn't want it up here.
Well, we're talking about being battered and bruised, like the mind over matter aspect. So you got a guy Wiedering who was, hitting the throat, allegedly concussed, all cleared. AFL's cleared it. So let's just put that away, right? Wiedering kicking it to a first-year player who's been subbed on, kicking it to a guy who's had to raise his arms after dislocating his shoulder, who then kicks it inside 50 to the goal square to another guy who can barely move his arm.
Yes, correct.
You can't make it up. It's
You
almost,
can't.
I don't want to say it, but
But-
it's almost like a god was watching over us.
Well, the footy gods. But I want to go to the contest quickly, the Judd McVie.
Yep.
You talk about risk versus reward, right? So he's attacking the footy as if they're losing the game, right? So
I know what you're going to say here.
what's the risk to reward?
He should have
there?
held him up.
He should have just held him
up.
and make Doherty go behind the mark, and you give your defense, who's only allowed 67 points at this point of the game,
To set up.
to set up, and you kill the game. There's no need to over commit, and he just let Doherty out. Once he got through, it was always going to be a goal. I saw the behind the goals vision last night.
It was 5-3.
Yeah, it was 5v3,
Yeah.
and it was never going to happen. So he needed to hold Doherty up, and he didn't do it. Geez, that's a crucial. That's learning, and that comes down to coaching.
I completely agree, and this is where I think Carlton just outwitted them. Carlton outsmarted them.
Yep.
At that contest, the moment Lever cleared it and then kicked it to Viney, and Viney kicked it to Wiedering, that behind the footage you saw, I've seen it 100 times. I've watched the last 2 minutes of that game.
I'm sure
like
you've
a
watched a lot
passionate
of it,
Carlton
mate.
supporter, 100 times.
KO's never had so many reruns watched.
How Akers, Brodie Kemp, and Mitch McGovern were able to get that deep into the Carlton forward 50. And I'll tell you how it was. Because Charlie Curnow attracted a lot of attention. He pushed and forced the others up to the contest.
Charlie was leading at the footy.
That's right.
He
So
was
what is
actually
that?
on too.
He was very
on.
smart.
He was
He
on.
knew what was going on.
Yeah.
So that to me, you talk about coaching. I think it's a clear indication that that's a big tick to Michael Voss, and it must be said, the Melbourne team they just fell asleep.
Yep.
And I don't think they coped with the occasion. It was Paul. I'm telling you, it was the most rowdiest and hostile receptions you'll ever see.
Can't
And it's not
imagine,
just it wasn't just the actual Carlton fans. That whole last quarter, there was so much angst in the crowd, and yeah, I mean, look, Carlton end up getting the win. Good on them. Onto bigger and better things in the prelim final, but I think
gonna be huge.
Melbourne need to lick their wounds, and onwards and upwards for Carlton. It's a massive tick to them. It's a massive. Don't underestimate, and I don't think anyone is, but let's not undersell or underestimate how big of a win that was. The magnitude of it, given the circumstances, and how 12 months prior Carlton crumbled under pressure in those certain areas of the game, particularly the last 5 minutes of their last 3 rounds. I take you back to the Melbourne game of 2022. I take you back to the Collingwood game of 2022. It's,
Grim Reaper.
They've come full circle. Go!
That's Jared Wheatley.
Jared Waitley. Can't beat him. Just on that, just before a lot of people give him BT stick. I've heard his call like 1 million times, like a lot. And I love the part where he goes, Akers, he's done it again. He never misses. He wins all the time. I've lost it over that.
How many times have you watched the replay?
The full game? 7 times. 7 times. The last 2 minutes, upwards of 100, especially on Friday night / Saturday morning.
Were you watching those KO minis, were you?
No, mate, it was on repeat on YouTube. It was just literally on repeat.
Enjoy it. They're good wins, those
They
ones,
are.
especially
They
when
are.
it's in finals.
So now
They're good
Melbourne
wins.
go back to Casey, and Carlton progress to a prelim. Now we're going to get on to the second semi-final. If Carlton's story is good, I'm going to argue that GWS's story is just as good. So GW,
big game.
Mate, massive game. So GWS defeated Port Adelaide by 23 points, and that was at Adelaide Oval on Saturday night. 9-16 again, another team. I'm not saying that they were as dominant as Melbourne were in the first semi-final, but Port Adelaide,
Port.
9 goals, 16-70 to GWS's 13 goals,
Yeah.
15 behind 93.
A lot of those points came in. Did you catch much of this one?
No, I didn't, to be
A
honest.
lot of those points came in the last.
I've watched the whole. I've watched 3/4 of the game, not in its entirety.
A lot of them came in the last quarter. I'm pretty sure the Giants put them away in the second quarter, but they also butchered. I think they were, what were they? There they go. They're 9-11 at halftime to 5-6. So, you're talking about 20 scoring shots to 11. The game was over.
Was there a sense, did you think that perhaps I mean, it's that what Port Adelaide did kick the first goal of the third. Perhaps that there was a chance.
No, there was in this third quarter. I think Ollie Lord?
Yep.
Had a shot to make it 11 points from 15 out.
Yep.
And he missed. So
They did end up kicking 1 goal 9 in the last quarter, Paul.
Yeah. No. The last quarter, they were but how do you say? GWS were
running on top of the ground, weren't they?
Yeah, but they were sort of saying, we've got to lead, and sort of in that save the game sort of that style.
Which won't work against Collingwood, but...
No.
Yeah.
No.
I want to talk about
the
the
game
Giants.
Was over.
What do you think about the Giants?
But they were good.
From what I saw, I thought they were massive. This is just a running power machine.
They were, but...
This is unbelievable. They run. Oh, my God. Oh, I love it.
Port were really... They were butchered. They were banged up. They were really banged up. And I think... Was it Chris Scott?
Finlayson was a sub, by the way. So, again, another team that chose a foot. It's interesting, but anyway.
But they brought him on for Lysette.
Yeah.
Which they were obviously must have been under an injury cloud.
Yeah. He hasn't been fit all year. Neither has Charlie Dixon.
No,
neither of them have been fit the whole year. Up.
Yeah. Mackenzie was on one leg. Like, you know, they were all like, they've got some issues, Port, because they've got
Which I think they by the way, I think they recognise that. And if you look at some of the names that have been linked with that club, e.g. Savaradagalea, e.g. Grundy, which Grundy's now told them from a lifestyle perspective, I don't want to play at Port Adelaide or in South Australia.
Yep.
And they're looking at another defender, Brandon Zerk Thatcher. So they've actually they have identified. They've got Jordan Sweet, who played at Western Bulldogs on their radar as a ruckman. So I think they have identified where they need to plug those holes.
But are they going to be players? Are they standout players to you? That
I don't think you need to be. I think with Port's system, it's a more oriented. It's a team orient, as every team is. It's predominantly team orientated. As long as they can adapt to the Port Adelaide way, I don't think Port. I think Port. I can see Port again next year being up there. I don't know how far they're going to go. To me, they are a genuine year in year out top 8 side with what they've got, and they've been able to regenerate with the youth. We don't need Butters, Rosie, etc. Horn Francis.
Yep. I don't think they got too much capital. I think they gave a lot up for Horn Francis. So what are they going to give up to get Radicalia, Zerk Thatcher?
It's a good question. I don't know. I don't profess to be a trade analyst. I mean, we should get Pommy on.
Well,
Pommy would know exactly.
He's great.
He would know what's going on.
Shearer, he's great.
Alan
good.
Shearer.
He's great.
But the Giants now,
they were good. They were really good. They play a style of footy you love to watch, which is like watching the game was amazing. Like the way they moved the footy. It was almost a little bit similar to the way Collingwood play. Yeah. So that's going to make it a very interesting game.
Both coaches are disciples of Damien Hardwick.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Which is, I mean, it's ironic, but yeah.
So, what do you say? They're obviously one of the informed teams.
They've had to do things the hard way, Paul. They have earned every bit of respect.
Did they get the softest teams in the 8? Who was the worst ranked team in the 8? I just want to know.
You are playing there. I love it. I love it. I love it. You're here for the debate.
Told me before.
I know. And I love it. It's a good question. I just want to know
who was the worst ranked team in the 8. Tell me.
St Kilda.
Were they the worst ranked team?
In my opinion, they were. Yeah.
And who'd be the worst ranked team in the top 4?
Port Adelaide. Yeah. I mean,
and they're even more banged up. But Giants did it on the other side. Giants also did it in a pretty convincing way to beat both clubs.
Well, on the couch last night, they showed the second half of the year, and the top 4 teams. If you had a ladder after, say, round 15 or whatever it was, or round 13, the top 4 teams on that ladder are the 4 remaining teams in the finals.
Yep.
So it was Carlton with 11-1, GWS 10-2, Collingwood, Brisbane, Collingwood. So
Collingwood's like 8-3. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. But look,
now they're going to do it in front of 95,000 Centrelink.
It's no way to call your own people.
They're there. It's going to be.
For what it's worth, Collingwood supporters are no different to Carlton supporters. Fundamentally, we want the same thing. We're just a bit more classier. No, I'm joking.
Carlton supporters were playing the drums in Lygon Street like fucking it was a fiesta going on. Right? It was just a semi-final win, guys. Fucking hell, mate. Unbelievable. Jeez.
They're more within their rights to get happy. But look, as you said, the Giants are going to, which we will preview shortly, you're going to head down the MCG in front of what is AFL members I saw was sold out in the Collingwood and Giants game on Friday night, but I'd be expecting 95,000 Collingwood supporters to be there. I think it's fair to assume.
There'll be a lot of neutral too, I reckon.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it's the only game in Melbourne. It's a Friday night. There's going to be a lot of,
I wonder who they're going to. If we go by what GWS's social media teams put out, they're trying to recruit all these non-Collingwood supporters.
All the Carlton supporters are going to be in Brisbane, so we won't have any of those putting on orange scarf.
Yeah, no, they'll be on Logon Street. But anyway, yeah.
It's going to be exciting.
It is.
It's going to be exciting.
Now, second instalment of Standing Tall in September week 2. So we're going to pick a player each from both games who we thought stood tall and made a name for themselves.
Yep.
If you're big in September, you earn a lot of respect, not only from your peers, which you probably already have, but you get a bit more recognition in the media, and a lot more people take notice of you. And I'll start with you, Paul, on Friday night at the MCG, Melbourne and Carlton. Who stood tall for you?
Wow. Stephen May. Jeez,
like
he was
it.
good. He
I
was
do.
good.
I like it. Yeah.
Clearly the standout was Walsh, but, we'll play devil's advocate on the other side. If Melbourne had won, I think Stephen May would have got all the heroics from that. I don't know if he killed Curnow, but he
had him covered from what I saw.
He outmarked him a lot of time.
Yeah.
It was actually frustrating. Watching as a neutral, I know a lot of Collingwood fans will want Carlton out, but it was just like, you want it to be a good game, go back and forth, goal for goal. You
did get a half of it. You got a good game.
Yeah, well, we did get a good game.
Yeah,
that's
right.
right.
Yeah,
I know, but I hate Mel. I can't stand Melbourne, right? So it was just almost.
Was there a part of you that was barracking for Carlton?
I wasn't going for the blue. I was just going for a good game. If Melbourne kick goal, then I would have Carlton to kick a goal. But it was flush. I just wanted Curnow to bring the ball to ground level. But May, the way he just manoeuvred and the way he reads the footy, it was good, and he was a big part why they were still in the game in that those last couple of minutes. But geez, he was outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw, he beat Charlie Curnow comprehensively.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone is going to question that.
Yep.
Stephen May took the colours for that game, and he was big. And it's funny because in those one-on-ones, Melbourne try and get Lever to intercept, but it was Charlie managed to get that one-on-one isolation a few times, not all the time. With Stephen May, and Stephen May had him covered.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Lever was really strong at the start. I think he had 3 intercepts.
He did. The first inside 50 Carl went to was an intercept marked. I thought this is going to be a repeat.
Kennedy worked himself into the game.
Yep.
Became a little bit more dangerous. Mm-hmm. Did he kick one or two?
He did
kick one. He set up another one for Walsh.
In the third quarter. Kicked the first of the third quarter.
Yep. Was Walsh wearing a Dior mouthguard? What's the story there? Was there a reason
likes
for
to
that?
express himself.
No problems with that, mate. Bit of class.
Christian Dior. He's up in all the stores,
He's on his paycheck, mate.
When it rains, it pours.
Why not? Good on
mate,
him.
she must like the way he moves. She must like the way he dances.
He was good. He was good.
Yeah, he was really good.
I've got a secret suspicion he might be your standing tall.
Oh, well, what do you know? Sam Walsh for me on Friday night. Unbelievable. 34 touches, 6 inside 50s, 2 goals. I want to talk about the defensive acts too. So, yes, 34 touches, 6 inside 50s, 2 goals. Great. Fantastic. 8 tackles and 43 pressure acts. That's off the Richter scale.
Yep.
That's unheard of. That I'm pretty sure those numbers have never been put up in a finals, particularly the 43 pressure acts. That is out of this world. And talk about a two-way runner. And, he spent a lot of the game matched up on Clayton Oliver. And Clayton Oliver, he just worked him over.
Yep.
Walsh just worked him over.
Yeah.
Honestly, you wouldn't expect to say it about Clayton Oliver because, in my opinion, he's one of the most intelligent footballers. Sam Walsh was just a bit smarter.
Yeah, I think Walsh...
Pivotal contest, he was just a bit smarter.
And I was watching him closely because the way he reads the footy, he sort of covers defensively, and then he sees when you've won the ball, and then
anticipation.
He's on the outside, and a lot of times Oliver got caught, sucked into the contest. Like both his goals, he got out the back. Like that second one he kicked in the last quarter, it was.
Yeah,
Oliver
one was in the second, one was in the last.
Yeah.
Both pivotal at that time.
And that one in the last, Oliver went to the contest.
First goal of the last quarter.
Yeah, Walsh saw, all right, we've won the footy. Oliver's sucked in.
Yeah,
and he got out the back. He's a good player. He's worked himself really into form.
Well,
he started slow, and he's
in the
really,
year.
Yeah,
He has come off. He has come off surgery, and I want to give a
major
shout out. I
surgery.
want to give a shout out to Kane Corns who mentioned this, and he was quick to highlight it. Like, it's very hard to do what Sam Walsh has done for the whole year, you know. And you got to remember that game against West Coast where he did his hamstring, he was on track for one of the best games you'll ever see.
Yep.
He had 11 touches and did whatever he did in the first 8 minutes of the first quarter. So look, the cream rises to the top. The Rolls Royce, the Christian Dior. The Louis Vuitton, whatever you want to call him, we'll call him Christian Dior.
He was good.
He's royalty, and he put his stamp on this final series. So, you know, we're talking about young player who wants to make a mark.
Well, I think he's leading the votes for best finals player.
Well, his 2 games, he's averaged. You've seen his numbers for the first 2 games.
Good.
Yeah,
he's been good.
Adelaide Oval Saturday night, Port Adelaide GWS. Who stood tall for you?
Oh, stood tall. My boy Jesse Hogan working his way. He was great.
Hogan's heroes.
He could have kicked 8. He actually could have kicked 8.
Doesn't he look happy?
He does. He
He
benefits the way they move the footy. Like you'd love to be a forward for them. Like the way the ball comes in, and they're not even. They're almost like they just work your way through your team defense. The way they move the footy, how quick and slick they are.
Running.
Yeah, and it's just so open for their forwards. Like Hogan
When
just
you love
getting them
it.
lace out. And Mackenzie was on one. Like he was just awful.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hogan was good. I agree with you. If you're kicking 5 goals in a semi-final, where in theory finals are typically hard to score freely, GWS made it look like a picnic, and Jesse Hogan was one of the recipients to that.
4 goals, 17 disposals, 9 marks.
So he's had 8 scoring shots.
Yeah,
Like that's inexcusable.
9 marks is huge.
Yeah,
That's
in a final
massive.
too.
That's huge. That's massive. He was good. He killed Mackenzie. But yeah, watching the game, like watching Mackenzie, just couldn't go with him, and he's hobbling. His knees. His knees buckled. His ankles cooked.
You've sworn on this show before, mate. It's all good.
Yeah,
It's a safe place.
So his knees fucked.
Yeah.
yeah. He's no. Yeah, he
No, I agree.
he stood out. So
Well,
he was good.
then I suppose as well, I think you can sort of on the contrary go, well, Jesse Hogan was smart to know that. Why don't I just work him over?
Yep.
I'll do one dummy lead. I'll do another lead. I'll do this. Just this is what I mean. I don't think talent takes you far. It takes you only so far in finals, but having a smart football IQ and seizing your opportunity, which Jesse Hogan did, that's what wins you games.
He did. He just, But we've seen it a lot of, like, Mackenzie just gets out. He's not big enough to play a key. I think he's more, I actually like his foot skills and his decision making. I don't know if he's more, he's
not a key defender.
He's not.
He's not.
They're not working him to his strengths. So
And Port have definitely seen that. That's why they're trying to add to their arsenal.
They obviously know that.
Stephen Cornelio for me, Paul, 30 touches, 13 score involvements, 5 inside 50s and 2 goals. Like, that's pretty big. A guy who missed his first finals, he didn't look like he missed a beat of finals, because finals obviously is a different intensity. And he's had to come back in that team with after missing the elimination final against St Kilda.
Yep.
I just thought the way he runs, and he's a very, very smooth mover you should watch the way he glides across the turf. He uses the ball well. He's a typical smooth mover is what I was trying to say.
He kicks goals.
Yeah, and for a team like the Giants where their midfield is so inclusive and their midfield plays a massive role in the way that they want to play, Stephen Cornelio is massive to that. And yeah, I want to give my props to him. I saw him live round 24 against Carlton at Marvel, and I was in awe. I made mention of it leading up to the first one. He was just watching him, and I just thought, wow.
Yep.
But he was my standing tall for September.
He was good.
We're going to move on to preliminary finals preview. So we've got 2 games here, boys. We have
Here we go.
Friday night, 22nd of September, Craig McRae's 50th game, and it's his 50th birthday on the 22nd of September. So Collingwood $1.57, Giants $2.40. Talk to me, Paul. You're the Collingwood supporter. I know that sometimes you can be biased, not all the time, but talk to me with both your eyes open here.
Well,
what are you thinking?
It's all set up for Collingwood to make a granny, isn't it? If you tell a Collingwood supporter in round 22 you're going to play a prelim against the Giants, well, you're licking your lips, aren't you? But, Jesus, a month's a long time in footy. They're
I
probably
agree.
the hot team. And I don't know if Saturday night was much of a bruising game of footy like the Friday night game was.
Yep,
Looked
that's
pretty
fair.
comfortable for them.
Yep.
They've got almost a full list, I think the Giants do,
Yep.
to choose from. And they're coming
Briggs
in
is a
with
little bit
momentum.
sore. That's about it.
Yep. So I still think Colin would get the job done. Obviously, the God is back. He's risen.
Nick Dacos is back. Taylor Adams, unfortunately,
He's out. He's out.
Is there any other selection issues that Collingwood may? It's more decision making.
I think it's a straight swap.
What about
Adams
John Noble?
No, I don't think anyone.
Any room for Johnny Noble?
No, I think Markov will keep his spot.
Okay.
I think it will be Adams out, Dacos in.
Ginnivan sub.
And Ginnivan will say the sub. That's
Interesting.
the only thing I can see.
Okay.
If there's any other changes, so be it. But that's the only obvious
So
one.
aside from that, Collingwood has a full clean bill of health.
Yep.
They've had the week off. They've been able to see what the Giants have done in their first two finals.
Correct. And I think they've done, from what I've heard, pretty intense training blocks down at the AIA Centre.
Yep. Okay.
Especially if you're pulling a hammy.
I want
to.
I'm very keen to see the running game here. So both play similar sort of styles, a more running in wave type of game.
I don't think GWS will be able to move the footy the way they did against Port Adelaide
because of Collingwood's frontal pressure.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think early on in the first quarter, Port's frontal pressure was great.
Yep.
They created a lot of turnovers. They put it on the scoreboard, but eventually the Giants just ended up just wearing it and breaking through.
Yep.
But I don't know if they'll get that type of
that luxury
on Friday night.
I think it's fair, yeah.
In their favour, I think you're looking at a club, they played 2 games in a month. So I don't know if there's going to be any
Giants have had to do it tough.
Yep. But you're coming in with momentum, Adrian.
Giants have played everywhere in the country, mate.
But you come in, you've won 3. What have they won? 3 in a row? 4 in a row?
Giants?
Yeah.
Yes.
They've won 4 in a row.
They've knocked off obviously some impressive teams. Like Carlton, they knocked off Carlton. They're still there. They knocked off St Kilda in their first final.
Yes.
They knocked off Port at home, which is a hard trip.
And now they're coming in with momentum.
Yep.
They've played. They've been playing consistent football.
Yep.
Where, I've seen it happen before. Teams, it's been quite common since that week off that
sometimes
teams
the rust
roll over in the prelim because of lack of footy.
Yep.
So I think McRae will be aware of that, obviously.
Do you see any issues with the Giants forward line matchups for the Collingwood defence?
Wow, you got to look at Hogan's going to be coming off playing McKenzie to someone like a Darcy Moore.
Riccardi goes to Freeman.
Murphy.
No, not Freeman.
Who's Freeman?
Sorry.
Nathan Freeman.
I was thinking of Nathan Freeman, not Nathan Murphy. My bad. That's embarrassing.
Right, and
who was on the Collingwood list? I don't know why I thought of Nathan Murphy. I was supposed to say.
And then I think Collingwood match up well. I think they've got luxuries of like Maynard or Quaynor can go to Toby Green.
Yep.
And either or will then go to Bedford.
Well, let's ask you, not what you want, but who do you think is going to go to Toby Green?
I think Maynard will go to him. But I think in saying that, Collingwood play.
They shouldn't play that hard, tough game with Toby Green.
No, but I think
Toby's a smart player.
But Collingwood play a lot of system defence.
Yes.
They don't play a lot of one-on-one.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about that.
Yep. And Isaac Quaynor, I listened to him last night on the couch, who, by the way, very well spoken.
Yep.
He mentioned something similar to that. Like, we play a more team-orientated defence.
I should be in the coaching panel. Seriously.
I don't think they like.
Well,
I don't think they accept Memphis Grizzlies fans.
Either do I. Just like the hat.
Fair enough. Look,
they play a lot of team system defence. They set up behind the footy. And Collingwood just going to bring that frontal pressure. They're not going to let the Giants just hands and go. And you saw that against Melbourne. Like, I think Collingwood's pressure ratings like over 200.
That was a high pressure game.
First 40 minutes.
So then I suppose it's going to be interesting to see that with ball in hand, how the Giants cope with that pressure. Because Collingwood play a more surge style. Collingwood are happy to keep the ball in motion, whereas GWS seem to find space that doesn't exist, but for them it does. So
the thing is with the Giants, they play a type of footy.
Do you think Collingwood might be too offensive?
No,
and then GWS can get them on the counter.
I am
because Collingwood love to run in waves.
Collingwood struggle against teams that
sit back. And park the bus.
Sit back, and you got to work their way through. Where the Giants give you, like, I must say, Port got some good looks coming in, and they just didn't execute.
Sure,
they gave them that. They gave them the corridor. So it's going to be interesting on if they respect Collingwood enough.
Yep.
I think they're matched up well. Collingwood's really matched up well for this game. And
Yeah.
I think I'm quite confident that they'll get the job done.
So am I.
Yeah,
Collingwood isn't losing the game.
Yeah, I think
I've got nothing but mad love and respect for the Giants. But
Yeah,
I just think Collingwood, I tipped against Giants against Port, but
Oh, did ya?
yeah, it did. But Collingwood will win the game. Not quite, not going not pulling out, not digging into the pockets this time and having a massive bet. But Collingwood will win the game.
I just saw Saturday night, Paul were able to move the football from their back half to their front half quite easily.
Yep.
And they just didn't execute in terms of hitting up a target or making the right decision. And you can give, obviously respect to the GWS defence.
But only on another day, GWS defence might not get so.
Well, at the end
lucky.
of the day, it was what did they kick? 9 goals, 16 or something. 9 goals, 16 to 13, 15. So Port had their fair look, especially in that last quarter. I think they're going to be up a big step up from Port Adelaide this week at the G.
Yeah,
it's game on.
It is. So you're Collingwood, obviously.
Yeah, we're both pies, I think.
Yep. Also, just before we move on to the next game, I can't believe I forgot this, but rest in peace, Ron Barassi. I can't believe we didn't discuss the legend. But here we are now.
Melbourne
and Carlton. Yeah, the two clubs that he famously was involved with, or two of the three.
Yep.
Just before we move on, do you think it should be? Do you think it's justified that the AFL commemorates him in some way, shape, or form, whether that's the Premiership Cup or the Premiership medals, which was discussed yesterday? But
definitely
a legend of the game, and look, 87 years old.
Some type of medal or something after him.
I think it's right and just.
Yep.
I think it's proper.
100%.
And I do apologise. I think I sort of feel bad that we didn't mention at the top of the show, but
yeah,
what a legacy he's left.
He's the way he's there's this one footage where he says just handball. I just love it. As like coaching before, and the way he says like you're not handballing, so don't blame me if we're losing.
Yeah.
But if you start handballing and you keep handballing and we lose, then blame me. And it's just such a It just stands out to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sometimes it's hard to get players to play the way you want, and then they complain. And it's just blame me if my system doesn't work, but don't blame me
when you don't use the system.
That's right. And he was good. And he had the little collars, he's good, great. So
with
good
the
on him.
sideburns and the mo, just a warrior.
Well, so the Blues might get up for him, mate.
Yeah, well, we'll move on to that game. Saturday, interesting time slot, 5:15. I reckon this is to cater for the NRL.
Are the Broncos on, are they?
The Broncos are playing on Saturday night in Brisbane too. So Brisbane Lions versus Carlton, 5:15, local and Eastern time, because there's no daylight savings yet.
Big game.
At the Gabba. Second versus fifth, $1.38 from what I can see here. Brisbane Lions, $3.08 Carlton. I saw $3.40 for Carlton yesterday, a couple of days ago.
You must have put max units on them.
I've got nothing to say.
What are we thinking?
Well, Jackson Payne started with Brisbane, so Jackson Payne is allegedly in a moon boot.
Oh,
I think, which is a big cog because he'll basically.
I haven't heard anything about Brisbane in the media.
Nah, I know. I don't like that.
Is he in a moon boot?
Well,
Where did that happen?
Partially because Carlton's, in this state in Victoria, everything at the moment is probably about Carlton, which is fair. And Brisbane obviously are in Queensland and they're doing their thing. They haven't played for a week.
How do you end up in a moon boot?
I don't know. I was reading it on Twitter. I don't know the exact facts, but yeah, look, I expect him to still play. Carlton is expected to basically have a clean bill of health entering this game. So Harry McKay.
What's a clean bill of health?
Yeah, sorry. So everyone available for selection. It doesn't mean that they're not playing banged up, but you got to understand, everyone at this time of the year is playing sore. Every club's got, mate, it's been 27 weeks. Every club is going to have some form of injury, but they're expecting Harry McKay to be available from his concussion and Jack Martin to come back in from his suspension. Sam Doherty all but confirmed himself when he got asked interviewed by someone, nothing stopping him from playing. Cripps, Akers, haven't heard nothing. Unless something miraculously goes wrong from now until Thursday. Yeah. Unless something miraculously changes from now till Thursday, probably expect Harry McKay and Jack Martin to both come straight in. I know you and many others have got this thing with Harry McKay. I get it. I don't want to spend too long on it because I don't have 3 hours, unfortunately.
Man, how much dangerous is your forward line when the ball comes to ground level without him.
Yeah, that's fair. I think structurally he's important. He attracts attention and he leaves Charlie Curnow isolated.
I get it.
Because Charlie, I know you said Stephen May got the better of him, and I do agree with that. I do think Stephen May took the honours on Friday night.
Yep.
But the more times Charlie's isolated one-on-one, the more times I back him in. And I just think with Harry's, he can put himself in dangerous positions and be that lead-up half forward. And he can drag a defender out with him. So the other one we didn't mention was potentially the return of Jack Gunston for Brisbane Lions. I'm going to say
Who's
that's...
he going to come in for?
I don't see, aside from injury, I can't see Brisbane going in changed. I think they stay unchanged.
Yep.
Unless there is an injury.
And Carlton is, I'm assuming, Cunningham.
I'm gonna say Cunningham comes out for Martin, and no, Cunningham comes out for Martin
Or Hollands.
They're gonna have to make
Cunningham with the sub.
No,
No?
no. No, they're going to have to make... Cunningham comes out for Jack Martin. That's just a straight swap.
Yeah. Hollands was quite good as a sub.
Hollands
He
was
gives you that
good.
impact.
Hollands was good. And Harry comes in and I'm...
Who does Harry come in for? He's got some selection.
It's a good thing to have.
Kennedy?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. They're probably not going to drop Pitto or Mark Pitternet because Tom DeConnick is the number one ruckman now, and Oscar McInerney's lethal. And if they double team Max Gawn, they're going to probably double team Oscar McInerney too, which tells me the two big ruckman play. It's probably going to be Kennedy or even George Hewitt. I'm not sure. I reckon they'll keep Hewitt in the side.
I don't know. You be surprised if Kennedy was a sub? And I'm going to tell you my reasoning why.
Hollands dropped.
I'm going to tell you my reasoning why. You got Cripps coming in with a crack in his nose and his banged up ribs.
Yep.
And you've got Doherty coming in with he had a pretty decent dislocated shoulder.
That's two big bodies.
Two big body mids. Do you have one as your sub?
Possibly.
As insurance?
Possibly. And whoever gets dropped is going to be stiff.
Yeah, and Akers as well is the other one carrying a massive. So the Carlton.
So we've got two wingmen in Doherty and Akers that are sore.
Yep.
And Ollie Hollands is a wingman.
Well, you keep Hollands in.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not a problem I want to invest myself into.
I think Carlton's selection of the sub this week is going to be more based on insurance.
Yep.
On someone going there because look, let's not lie, we're not fucking stupid. There've been some pretty That was a
brutal game.
Brutal game.
I think in finals, any game's brutal.
Yep.
I must admit, I think after you verse Melbourne, they're always brutal contests.
100%.
But
agree more.
Who wins for you?
Alrighty. God, this is a tough one.
Can't be that hard.
No, I'm going to tell you.
It's a flip of a coin.
I'm going to tell you why. Everything says Brisbane.
Sure.
Right? But. I hate to say this.
Hello.
But.
Hello. Make sure everyone's watching.
There's something about the Carlton story, and I've seen this before in the Dogs, Collingwood last year. There's something
that ended in a 1 point loss in a free.
Yeah, well, that's
No,
right.
joke.
Hopefully that's you this week. Right? Actually, you rang me after the game saying you're Collingwood 2022, and I said,
that ends in a 1
how's
point
that
loss in the
dickhead?
friendly.
Right? I think realisation here, but the thing that Carlton has this week, right? Brisbane got the fresh body, they're fresh, they got everything come forward. The thing that Carlton have this week is momentum, confidence, mate. They're on cloud nine. They are running. Everything's working. So, look, I wouldn't be surprised, but in saying that, I'm still going to go for Brisbane. This could go one of two ways. This is going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Brisbane absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's fair. No, that's fair. I respect that. Yeah,
because they're just going to be so fresh.
Yep.
Or I think Carlton this will be a slug out, but I can't see it being like a 4 or 5 goal win. I think it's going to be either 40, 50, 60 points or a one kick. A kick in it. What are you thinking? Mate, Cripps had blood pissing out of his nose in the post-match interview.
Mate, that means absolutely zero to me in this game.
But
look, I'm going to... Logically, I'm going to tip the Blues, and they're going to be up for it. It's going to be hard. Yep. But no matter what happens, it is what it is. I think Carlton wins, but who knows? What I will say is I do believe, can we just emphasise this? I do believe that the city of Melbourne and the state of Victoria and the AFL game not needs but deserves a Carlton and a Collingwood grand final for everything, for everyone involved. Imagine the vibe, economically, the investment in the state, the buzz around town, it's school holidays. Just envisage, just for 2 seconds before it happens, or if it does happen, a week where Collingwood versus Carlton in a grand final.
Well, we'll know.
It would be one of the best places to be.
That might be all shut off Friday night if the Giants win. If the Giants win, it's going to be
You just killed the
heartbreak.
fucking buzz, bro.
I get it. I
No,
I know.
I know what you mean.
It's a shit house for everyone if the Giants win Friday night because no.
Did you hear Chris Scott last night? Just before we wrap it up, did you hear Chris Scott last night on AFL 360?
What did he say?
Basically insinuating, the AFL won a Carlton and Collingwood granny.
Is that what he said? Did he?
Mate, I've never seen a more pessimistic approach from another coach. Like, he's literally poured water. I'm just going, like, bro, you know what he is, man? He's the guy, if the party finishes at midnight, he's home by 10 o'clock.
Yeah, no, he is. You know what? Fuck you, Chris Scott, right? But I'll tell you why. Who doesn't want, of course they want, AFL is a business, you dickhead.
Yeah.
Of course they want the two biggest powerhouses playing in the grand final.
Yeah.
Right? That's a dream come true for the business.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
I agree.
no shit.
It's not about, we don't always get what we want, but just for the theatre, if you're anything like me who sometimes can venture down that path and fantasize, if you want to put it in that way, but it would be fantastic to see.
It's going to be huge.
I think the city deserves it.
I think,
I do. You know what? After everything the sport's been through in the last 4 to 5 years, and even everyone's personal lives and the state of the world,
yeah.
I understand one team is going to eventually lose, but the feeling that it would bring to this country if a Collingwood and a Carlton grand final eventuated, my lord.
The first step to this is Collingwood winning Friday.
Sure.
Because if the Giants win, it ruins everything. Because
ruins the hype. Yeah,
because if Carlton lose, you can watch Collingwood, try and lose in a granny.
Yep.
Right? But no one wants to watch the Giants. Look, I know they're an expansion team, but no one wants to watch them in the fucking flag.
I just want to say before we sign off, so 12 months ago, Patrick Cripps was on a stage at Brownlow Medal Night and he got interviewed by Hamish McLaughlin. And I vividly remembered he said something along the lines of, Hamish, next year I want to be at this event and I want to be drinking waters. Well, because I'm heading into a grand final. Well, Patrick Cripps, you put into existence what you spoke about last year. Here is your opportunity to be in a grand final.
I want him drinking waters on Brownlow night so he can put the medal around Dacos sober.
And then verse each other in the grand final.
Well, I don't want him to trip and drop the medal and scratch it for Nick. I want him quite sober so he can put it around freely for him.
Well, he really has got a broken nose. He might not be able to see.
I'm hoping, mate. I want Cripps to put it around him and sober.
Look, it's massive. Here we are now. Now, next week...
Yes.
Next week is our final show of our first season, and it will be done, recorded, and published on a Wednesday. So, not next Tuesday, next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. And when's Brownlow?
Monday.
Oh, it's on the Monday night. Oh, all right. So we can't do any little Brownlow tips. No.
We might do something.
Oh, we'll work something out.
We'll work something out for the fellas. But look, thank you for everyone for joining in. We do appreciate it. 2 big games this weekend. There's no second chance now. It is what it is do or die.
It's do or die.
Yeah, you don't get us any second chance. You don't want to leave any stone unturned. And best of luck to all 4 teams that are involved. Have a great weekend.